Hey Jets fans, it's your friend Scott Salmon here from Gangrene Nation, ready to talk about our victory over the Indianapolis Colts, who we beat 35-9. It was a great victory. We beat them down on both sides of the ball. It was extremely physical. We saw by the end of the game, their receivers were dropping passes. They didn't want to touch Sean Green. It was really the kind of ground and pound victory that Rex Ryan has wanted to instill into this team since he became our head coach. There were a lot of positives, not that many negatives, but we'll try and break down a little bit some from each side. We'll start off with Sean Green, who had by far the best running game of his career. Career attempts both in rushing yards and rushing carries. He was just I've never seen a Sean Green like this before. He was kind of grinding at those tough yards. He was busting the big runs. Actually, we saw a spin move from him at one point, which if you've seen Sean Green run before, you know he doesn't have a spin move. He really just has a walk 2 feet, fall over, and that's the end of the run. So this was a great game from Sean Green. Finally showed up in the season. This is really the first time we've really seen him this season do anything positive. So hopefully we'll see more of that as we go to the rest of the season. I will say though, I think we probably will see more of this. We played some of the best defenses in the league already with the Steelers, the 49ers, the Texans. So as we start playing some easier games, we should start seeing our run game pick up a little bit more. Maybe not as great as it was this game, but it should still be pretty good. Next up was Antonio Cromartie, who he almost had two pick sixes. He was just phenomenal. He was extremely physical, really getting on Reggie Wayne. By the end of the game, Wayne was dropping passes. I really think he got in his head. So I wish we didn't see as many penalties on him. But it was a great game from Antonio Cromartie. He's really been stepping up since Darrelle Revis went down. The next guy that we should talk about probably is Mark Sanchez. He was extremely efficient. He didn't have any turnovers. He put the ball where he needed to get it. He picked up the first downs when the run game wasn't quite getting there. This is the game manager Sanchez we want to see. We want to see an efficient guy. He's not going to throw interceptions. And we saw with on both of his touchdown passes. We saw him be able to fit the ball in nicely there. And I think a lot of what was helping Sanchez a lot and was obviously helping Green a lot was the offensive line, which played a better game than it has in a really long time. I mean, there was Sanchez had no one near him for most of the game. Green had wide open holes that he was just busting through, and so our offensive line really stepped up. And they haven't been very good this season. Their pass protection's been okay, but the run game in particular has been pretty bad. And they really stepped up big this week, as did I think the whole team in general. Now as for defense, I think in general, like I mentioned that how physical they've been, and it really showed as the game wore on. They were beating up on the offensive line. We saw a lot more times that luck was hit as the game went on. Part of that was that we stopped the run and that we were able to tee off on the pass rush. But a lot of it was they were just manhandling the offensive line of the Colts, and they really didn't. By the end of the game, the Colts really didn't want to be out there. So there were some bad things, not really many. First and foremost was the penalties, which we saw, which weren't great. A lot of that, there was some questionable calls in there. I'm being kind of generous with that, but I think in general there were some points where we were being too aggressive where we didn't need to be, to being too physical, I should say, where we didn't need to be. But it was a good game when it came to that. Not really too upset about the penalties. The biggest negative, I guess, to come from the game is probably the injuries to our running backs. So Bilal Powell and Joe McKnight were both injured. Powell seems like his is more serious. He might be out for some time. Hopefully not. Hopefully it's not too bad. They both look great. But we'll probably see Jonathan Grimes or maybe even Tim Tebow running the ball more often. But overall, great win. We're going to need this momentum going into New England next week. It's going to be a tough game as we're battling for the first place in the AFC East. But if it looks anything like this week, it's going to end up great. So see you guys again next week. Thanks for listening.